It's good to see everybody again. I appreciate you coming out. I had promised that my introductory press conference, that when we had all, if not most of the staff in place, that we would take the opportunity to introduce them publicly. So we're going to take a chance to do that here today, and we'll make available the gentlemen that are new to the program, the guys that we're retaining and have been here before. We have a major recruiting weekend going on this weekend, so we've asked them to stay with our prospects as we're going through. I will say, in a general statement, I could not be more excited about the staff that we were able to assemble. We have a great mix of backgrounds, of experience, of levels of play, of responsibilities, and that's exciting. I think the biggest point to make, though, is that we've assembled a staff of really great men, family guys, great teachers, good recruiters, but really guys that I feel very comfortable with moving forward. And frankly, I cannot express to you the amount of interest that these jobs drew from guys working at BCS programs that recognized the power of this place, the trajectory of our program, what's happening here. So obviously putting the staff together was not easy, but it was an enjoyable process. I'll just take you through one by one here the gentlemen that we've got in place. Obviously, it was a big story. Nick Rolovich staying as the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. Nick and I clicked very quickly on the phone, and I decided I knew continuity was going to be important. Again, we talked about initially that this thing was not completely broken, and in my mind, continuity was very important, and it began with Nick. I told him the first night I was able to get on the phone with him that he was my most important recruit in this class, and we are absolutely thrilled that he and his family have decided to stay on. Jim Hoffer is going to be the assistant head coach and coach our wide receivers. Coach Hoffer brings a wealth of offensive background with him. He's been a head coach twice at Buffalo and at Cornell. He gave me my first full-time job in college football, and our relationship is such that I promised myself if I ever had the opportunity to build a staff, I was going to find a way to bring Jim with us. I think he'll be a great resource for me in terms of helping me to avoid some of the landmines that a first-time head coach might stumble upon. He'll be a great sounding board, and excited to have him with us. Jeff Jenick will coach our running backs and be our special teams coordinator. Jeff and I competed against each other when he was the special teams coordinator at Cal. We had the opportunity to visit for about 2 days this past summer in College Station, so there was no interview necessary here. We've talked a lot of football together. His teams were always difficult to prepare for. His guys always played hard. And the other thing that Jeff brings us is, he was at the forefront of the spread offense at Northwestern with Randy Walker and that group, and has won some Big Ten titles as an assistant at Northwestern, and it really is going to help us add a little bit something in that offensive room as well. Jeff's been a head coach as well at Eastern Michigan, so another member of the staff that will be able to help advise me as we move forward. Ron Hudson will coach our offensive line. Ron came to us from UMass. Before that, he had been at New Mexico and had a long stint at Louisiana Lafayette, where he coordinated, and they were highly successful on offense. Ron actually came to us because he and Nick were together for about four weeks at UMass before Nick came here. So they had a relationship, and I knew from the first 20 minutes in the interview that Ron was going to be our guy. He's a passionate teacher. He's got a great personality, big outgoing personality, as most offensive line coaches do, and I just knew it was going to be a good fit for us. That interview turned into I didn't want to let him leave until he agreed to take the job. So we're thrilled to have him. James Spady is going to stay with us as the tight end coach. Excited about the job that he's done with his position group. In my experience studying the tape, he's been pretty good. His guys have played well, and I think his experience recruiting in Texas is going to be vital to us as we begin to open up that market in recruiting. On the defensive side, Scotty Hazelton is going to coordinate our defense and coach the linebackers. Scotty and I didn't actually know each other. This is one of the few guys on the staff that I did not have a prior relationship with, and to be honest with you, that's a little bit unusual, especially for a first-time head coach. Monty Kiffin, who was is a longtime NFL legend as a defensive mind, most recently at USC, called me shortly after I got this job and said, "Hey, Brian, I've got a guy that you have to take a look at as your coordinator." And we talked at length about Scotty. And as I researched Scotty's background, he's coordinated at the FCS level at North Dakota State, where they won a championship, and his defenses were outstanding. And then you combine that with the experience that he gained at USC, working for Monty and Coach Lane Kiffin. So now, not only has he coordinated, he's seen what it's like at the highest level. He's recruited at the highest level, one of the premier programs in the country. And we are really excited and blessed to have Scotty and his family join us. Billy Tierlink is going to join us as the defensive line coach. Billy's a guy I did have a chance to watch in person. Didn't work with him on the same staff, but in the time that I would go back to Indianapolis to spend time with my dad, Billy was working there with the defensive line and was one of those people that, you know, you always put on your list when you meet guys and say, "Hey, I love his energy, I love his passion. He takes a lot of pride in coaching the D-line." And I always knew that if I got one, Billy would be a guy I would call. And I don't know if there could be a greater compliment to Billy. When I called my dad, I said, "Hey, what do you think of Billy?" He said, "Hire him as quickly as you can. You need to hire him as quickly as you can." And frankly, I think to be able to recruit a defensive lineman and say to him, "Hey, you're going to be coached by the guy that coached Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis, and he's got a Super Bowl ring on his hand," that's going to carry a lot of weight with prospects. So obviously we're very excited to have Billy with us. Mike Bradison's going to stay with us. He is going to coach the safeties and be the recruiting coordinator. And I can't tell you if I've dealt with a more professional. I mean, you want to talk about the consummate pro. Mike Bradison has been the consummate pro. Transition's never easy. It's not easy on the players. It's not easy on the staff. We've asked Mike to change his role, and he has embraced it. He is Nevada through and through, loves this place, and I could not be happier with him staying with us. I think his ties in the state and his ability to see the big picture is going to make him incredibly valuable as a recruiting coordinator. I know that he and I kind of see things the same way, and we're blessed that he decided to stay with his family. The cornerback job we are going to fill after the national signing date, and I will tell you why here in a moment. Kenny Wilson is going to stay with the program. Effective February 8th, after the signing date, national signing date, he will move from an on-field role to assistant AD for football operations. And, Kenny has lifelong experience here at Nevada. He knows the community. He knows the university very well. I quickly recognized as I was working from Texas and asking Kenny for a lot of information, and what he was presenting to me in a timely manner was terrific work. And I'm excited that at this point he has agreed to stay with us in an administrative role. And frankly, this is an important role, especially for somebody like me. This is the administrative wing of the football program. He's the liaison to the rest of the university and the campus, and we're very excited at this point to keep him in this role. Andy Vaughn is our good director of player personnel. That was Andy's title. We have chosen to retain Andy, and I'll speak more about him on national signing date when we introduce the class. But this is the unsung hero of the football program right now. He has been the engine that has kept the recruiting machine running. His work has been outstanding, and really we would have been at a loss without him. Trying to keep the recruiting process going through a transition. It's not been easy. He's borne the brunt of it. I apologize to his wife and son. We haven't seen him very much, but we got to get through national signing date and everybody can get reacquainted with their families. So with that being said, I'll take some questions now, and then we'll make the new members of the staff available to anybody that wants to speak with them.
Coach, obviously Kiffin's a pretty good reference. Can you talk about what your focus was in addressing that defensive spot?
It was a chemistry fit. It didn't necessarily have to marry with a certain system, 3-4, 4-3, 4-2-5. It was more about trying to find the right chemistry and the right person who believed in the same core principles on defense that we did. And frankly, chemistry means a great deal. Somebody that can identify with the players, get them going, get everybody headed in the right direction. And Scotty's interview was another one that in the first hour, I knew that he was our guy. Now, the fact that we have a lot of the same fundamental beliefs on defense and kind of have experience in the same system was helpful, but that certainly was not going to be a deal breaker. It was about chemistry. It was about believing in a lot of the same core principles, and we do. So it was pretty good. And the one thing that as you watch this staff work through spring football and get to know them, it was important to me that a lot of the guys mirror kind of my makeup, and that's high energy, passion. When you do it well, you're going to hear about it. When you don't do it well, you're going to hear about it. But we're going to, it was important to me that this staff be an energetic, passionate, vocal staff, and I think we've achieved that.
What does that mean for your defensive scheme? What kind of formation then are you based out of then?
We'll base out of a 4-3, but clearly in this day and age of college football, you have to be pretty multiple and flexible, and we'll do that, but we'll base out of 4-3.
So is Ken going to be the DFO?
His title is Assistant AD for Football Operations. So yes, he takes on a great deal of those responsibilities, but we felt like it was important to put an Assistant Athletic Director title on him because we feel like that role is that important, and he's earned that.
So that's the only position you still have to hire then as quarterback?
Yes, and that cannot take place. Ken right now is one of our 9 coaches on the field, so he's out recruiting, and he's been dynamic in recruiting. He's been fantastic. And then effective after the national signing date, he will move from an on-the-field role to an off-the-field administrative role, and then at that point we will go ahead and hire the cornerbacks coach.
Can you talk a little bit about recruiting? Obviously you can't talk about the players specifically, but how do you feel about some of the names that
I have no idea what names you're talking about.
About the class, the way it's shaping up?
I am very excited about it, and I think all of the credit goes to the assistant coaches and especially to the guys that were retained that had to function, and Andy Vaughn that had to function through a transition. That's not easy. I've been through that a couple of times. But I'm very excited about this group that we have a chance to put together here. And I'll go on record. I think I said this in the opening press conference. I'll say it again. As much respect as I have for the people who work at Rivals and Scout and all those services 24/7, I could care less what they think about our kids. I don't care how many stars they put on them. That stuff means it doesn't matter to me. What matters to us as a staff is the young man a good person? Is he a competitor? Is he physically and mentally tough, and can he help us win? And if they fit those criteria, and are they going to compete in the classroom? Can they succeed here academically? If they fit those criteria, anybody else's opinion means nothing to us. So what you're going to find is you're going to say, all right, well, they beat so-and-so in the Pac-12 to get this kid. Boy, that's a big get. Well, this guy only had Sacramento State. I don't care. We don't care. We're interested in guys that we think can help us win, and we think that in this month or so that we've had to put this class together, that we're going to put together a really dynamic group of young men. And I'm excited to get to signing day to a point where I can start to reference them personally and share with you some of the things that have us so excited. I mean, when you have interior linemen that are on the swim team, that's pretty dynamic when you got big bodies that get in a pool and compete. I mean, we have guys like that. We have guys like that in our class, and that's exciting.
It seems like we're seeing a lot more defensive guys. Is that a priority at this point?
That's a numbers deal. That's not a indictment of what we felt like we've done on defense. To be honest with you, I haven't watched what we've done on defense. It's just we got to get the scholarship numbers balanced out. Right now we have far more scholarships devoted to the offensive side of the ball than we do the defensive side of the ball. And we have a scholarship model. You know, we want X amount at this position, and we need to, as best we can, try and get our roster to reflect that model.
Okay, one more on this, if I may, and please resist the temptation to say both. What's more important in your mind? Finding talent, identifying talent, and recruiting it, or coaching it on the field?
There is no way to answer that. That's what we get paid to do. We get paid to turn over every rock. And frankly, we need the ability at a school like this, we need to be able to project. We need to be able to look at a 17-year-old and say, this is not what he's going to look like in 2 years. We're going to hand him over to our strength staff. We need to be able to look at an athlete that might play one position and say, all right, we see the physical tools that will enable him to play another position. And then once we get them here, it is then our job to develop them and coach them. So they're not separate. They're one and the same. It's part of the same job. I guess the best way to articulate this, or at least draw an analogy, is the Stanford team that I was a part of that won the Orange Bowl and then went to the Fiesta Bowl. When we were in nickel with 5 DBs on the field, not one of those young men had played DB in high school. They were all tailbacks, receivers, quarterbacks. You have to have the ability to be able to say, okay, this guy has the skill set. We project him to be able to do this. You know, we'll see how it shakes out in our recruiting class. That's the other thing. Don't worry about how they label him. Don't worry about what it says next to his name on the internet. How'd they take 8 wide receivers? What they're labeled at and what we're going to put them at are 2 different scenarios. And that's part of recruiting. So.
Getting back to your staff, you talked about it a little bit earlier, but can you expand on exactly what you were looking for putting your first staff together?
Yeah, as a first-time head coach, it was important to me that with most guys I had some history with. There were a ton of really qualified candidates out there, and frankly, there were some really good coaches that were here when I got here. But moving forward, this is my first opportunity. In our business, it may be your only opportunity. So you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm going to battle with guys that I know I can trust. And that's part of it. So recruiting dynamics were part of it. Where has a guy recruited? Where can he help open up our recruiting footprint? All of the guys are good men. That's important. The last thing I want is to hire a coach who's down at a casino putting the mortgage down. That's not what we're looking for. So it was important that we had good people, and chemistry had a lot to do with it. And I will tell you, in the short time that this staff has been together, the chemistry is fantastic. We have fun. We enjoy one another's company. And you have to be able to do that because we're together too much. If you don't like each other, you can't get along, or it doesn't jive, it doesn't fit, it's hard. Chemistry goes a long way. And I feel like we have been able to build something. And I tell you what, I owe a debt of gratitude to President Johnson and to Kerry because they've facilitated some things that we needed in order to hire some of these guys. And I'm indebted to the administration to enable us to do some of those things.
Were you given a larger purse for your assistant coach?
I don't know, because I don't know what the purse was before, and frankly what existed before is none of my concern. I know that we were able to do enough to get quality people here, and that's all I can concern myself with.
You have 2 former head coaches on your staff. This being your first shot as being a head coach, was that something that you went into the process wanting to do?
Yes, I knew all along I wanted Coach Hoffer to be a part of this thing. We have a lot of history. We've stayed dear friends. He's been a mentor to me, and the fact, and it only speaks to what a good person he is that we could get into this scenario now, where some 13, 14 years ago, I was young and bright-eyed and wet behind the ears, and he gave me my first real chance. And now I'm in a situation where we're working together with me as the head coach, and there's absolutely no awkwardness whatsoever. It's been seamless. He's been a great resource for me, and Jeff will continue to be so as well. I mean, I'm lucky to have 2 former head coaches on the staff that hopefully will be able to pull me aside and say, hey, you're about to walk into a landmine here. Let's try to change our thinking. So to have that's pretty lucky.
Not knowing Scotty previously, what made you comfortable with him outside of the line?
The same thing you would be if you sat down at a bar with a guy and struck up a conversation. You know, in the first 20 minutes, hey, this is my kind of guy or this is not my kind of guy. Now, obviously, we do our due diligence. We call everybody we know that we can. Coaching's a funny deal. You can connect the dots pretty quickly. And all the reviews came back way thumbs up. And then and I have a ton of respect for Coach Kiffin, Monty, and Lane, but Monty especially. He and my dad worked together in the mid '80s, and you know, Lane and I grew up the same way. You know, coaches' kids, and you know, when somebody, you know, Coach Kiffin, for lack of a better term, he's from the same family tree as my dad. So I have a lot of respect when somebody like that calls and says, hey. You know, and that goes for Billy Tierlink too. Billy Tierlink and I are from the same family tree in football, and that matters. When you got guys from the same family tree, that matters because you know what they're about, and that's important. So.
I wanted to ask a question about Cap. How has his play over the last couple of weeks helped you guys in recruiting?
Well, I don't know about his play because I haven't seen any of it, but I know they keep winning, and I know every time I go into a high school and say Nevada. They say, oh, Niners quarterback. Yeah. You know, and look, I mean, I've been very clear about this. I have no interest in being the face of this program. Colin Kaepernick and our players, those guys are the face of this program. And to be able to go into a high school and show Colin in his Wolfpack uniform and then show him in his Niner uniform, that's pretty powerful. And then to talk about the great things that our kids are doing here and what we've achieved with all these bowl games in a row and the things that we've done here, that's exciting. Talk about the Mountain West as it is formed now and the divisions and the championship game. That stuff's exciting. That's what an 18-year-old, 17, 18-year-old can relate to. They're certainly not going to relate to me. I mean, so we as coaches are part of the process because it's a relationship driven. But, hey, if you really, I mean, what are they thinking about when we say our name? They're thinking about Cap, and that's okay. We embrace that. I mean, as a university, I can't imagine you'd be prouder of anybody. So.
You mentioned all the candidates that were interested. Were you surprised that you had so much interest in the position?
I was shocked, and I wasn't prepared for it, to be honest with you. And it's difficult to have guys that you respect and you know well and you've had history with, and to be able to tell those guys no, that's hard. That's hard. Because, you know, I'm very comfortable with our staff, and I think we made the best choices for our situation here, for our program. But there were a lot of good coaches that I have personal relationships with that you have to tell no, and that's not easy. That's not the fun part of this job. So, yes?
Hang on for Coach. Coach, what are your thoughts on
Great tie. That is a great tie.
Appreciate it. That's a nice shirt.
I'm channeling my inner Nick Saban with my sweater here today.
That's awesome. Coach, what are your thoughts on the conference realignment? I mean, are you kind of stressing more towards the defense when you're playing schools like Fresno State and San Diego State?
Well, we're going to try to play good defense no matter where we're playing. So I like the breakup of the conference. I'm excited about the thought of a championship game, and our goal is to try and be in that game. Clearly, when you talk to defensive coaches here, we have to be prepared to defend the whole field. I mean, obviously, it's wide open out here. People who recruit quarterbacks, they're going to make you defend all 53 1/3, from sideline to sideline. And as Scotty and I talked about what we were going to do on defense, that was a big part of the conversation, and we feel comfortable that we're ready to handle that. I mean, I know it's going to be different from what we saw at the SEC, where it was, most teams were, all right, strap it up, first one to throw a pass is a wimp. Clearly, that's not going to be the case here, and we're prepared for that. So, and frankly, I think that's what makes what we do unique, because we will be dedicated to continue to run the ball. And people are, that's going to be a little. It's like Stanford was. No, people weren't used to seeing that, and I think that'll give us an advantage as well. So, everybody good? At this point, we'll make the guys available. We appreciate the time. Thank you so much for coming out. Have a great weekend.